I'd like to say a few words about our great-grandmother, Hannah Green. She was my mother's father's mother. She lived in North Rose, New York, and it was at the height of the Depression, and it illustrates the importance of family. Someone had to go and stay with Grandma Green. We called her Gram, in North Rose, and I was in the 6th grade. I was 12 years old, and so I was the logical one to do it. And Grandma lived in a very tiny house that had no central heat, it had no electricity, it had no running water, and the drinking water we obtained that from a well nearby. Mm-hmm. And the only fuel was wood that we gathered from nearby. And the food was mostly canned vegetables and things that we made in the garden, and bread and so on. And I spent a year with her, which turned out to be a wonderful year because I guess I learned what unconditional love was. We called her Gram. She just radiated love. And I remember she gave me 2 pieces of information, 2 advices. She said, son, never drink alcohol and never vote Republican. And I have followed moderation in both of those respects. But the important thing was to remember the importance of family, the importance of sticking together. She was a remarkable woman in that she was deserted by her husband. She had 2 boys. One was our grandfather, William Green. He was exempt from the war because he was a railroad engineer, but his brother went. And it's very interesting that his brother was in infantry, and he was in the Meuse-Argonne battle and was wounded there. And the Meuse-Argonne is in French, but the Battle of the Argonne Forest is in Germany. And her great-grandson was wounded in the same place her son was.
Wow.
The son was not only wounded, he was wounded in the head, and he had a mental insert in his head. But more important than that, he'd been gassed and he had only half a lung. And he fought the disease through alcohol. And he and his girlfriend both died of acute alcoholism. But it was again, it illustrates the importance of family, which has been so bothersome to me right now. When you look around, half the kids in the United States are not being raised in a traditional family. It's a different kind of an operation, a different kind of way to live. But I just was delighted to have had that opportunity to be with her, and she was just human kindness. For example, there was a hobo jungle. These are young men who are not ne'er-do-wells. They're people following the trains around the United States looking for work in agriculture, harvesting plums and so on. And they would come to the door, the young men, and say, you know, we'll work to do anything for something to eat. And she always had bread or something to feed them, so on. So,
how did she heat her house?
We had one stove downstairs, and you put the wood in and burned it. And then they also had to have a wood fire in the regular stove, the cooking stove, and the cooking stove had beside it a tank light, so that was where your hot water was. But when you got up in the morning, you had to start a fresh fire, and that's you know, sanitation, for example. To take a bath, you had to heat water in that little tiny thing, and so that, and we had an outhouse, no internal, and our cash crop were chickens. We had eggs when you needed aspirin or coffee or something, some hard good.
And where did she live?
She lived right in the same. There was
in Syracuse?
No, and the place is called North Rose, New York. Okay. It's about 10 miles from Lake Ontario. It's in the apple orchard country. There was an orchard right adjoining us, and our family was in apples. They dried apples for export abroad, the raised apples. So, well, this is a test to see how it works. We'll see.